Welcome everyone to Satoshi Chats episode 18. My name is Jack,
And my name is Casey.
and current BTC price about 59,700.
Yeah, and we've got a fantastic guest today. Pretty excited to have him. Christian, also known as CK Snarks.
What's up? How's it going?
Yeah, and just tell us a little bit about what you do in the Bitcoin community, Christian.
Man, I do a lot. I'm blessed. I get to Bitcoin all day and get paid for it. But yeah, I wake up early in the morning and log into my computer and chat with a great group of guys trying to make Bitcoin Magazine a successful publication in the space and cover Bitcoin to the best of our ability.
Right. And do you define that as like the role of the magazine in the community as like being that center of news and stuff?
Sure. I mean, so I guess my role at the magazine is I'm the lead project manager for Bitcoin Magazine. Bitcoin Magazine is the media arm of BTC Inc. BTC Inc. also puts on the Bitcoin 2021 conference, as well as other projects. So my job is to, again, kind of lead the vision of Bitcoin Magazine. Bitcoin Magazine has always been like very Bitcoin forward, very Bitcoin technical, accurate, and we have like a really strong reputation there. Just kind of like with Aaron Van Wardum and other writers that we've had that have made a name for kind of making this kind of stuff accessible. And I've really taken that to the next level because I just want Bitcoin Magazine to be a platform and a place for the Bitcoin community to, have a voice, right? There's so many smart Bitcoiners out there that are like thinking critically about what's happening around the world about Bitcoin. And they're putting out some incredible knowledge. It's like crowdsourced knowledge and wisdom. So, I think at this point, Bitcoin Magazine has a really strong distribution system. And the best thing we can do is, one, have like a Bitcoin forward editorial lens and not get caught up in like all the noise out there. And then two, just pretty much crowdsource as many plebs and Bitcoiners out there who have something intelligent to add to the conversation and give them a platform.
Yeah, I really like that sort of ethos, giving the plebes and giving smaller Bitcoiners a platform and like a sort of medium to express their voice.
Yeah, I really like that. It's just like instead of using like big heads to, spread the news, it's actual truth rather than you know, distorted articles and information and all that. So it's actual truth rather than misinformation.
I mean, let's just say I would call it Bitcoin propaganda. So I don't necessarily know if I would call it just pure truth. Like Bitcoin is truth. If you want truth, you need like we have a new form of that. But I think crowdsourced wisdom is a better way to put it. People need different ways to digest Bitcoin and understand Bitcoin. And guess who's on the cutting edge of that? It's the Bitcoin plebs. So we just recognize that reality, and it's just a no-brainer. And it seems like it's just a match made in heaven. So really
Right.
excited to continue doing it.
Right. And like being on the cutting edge of crowdsourced wisdom, as you say, do you do you foresee like a future where Bitcoin Magazine just continues to do that and sort of operate on that method, or what do you see as the future of the magazine as you envision it?
Well, I just want to take a quick moment here to say that we broke 60K. So
Oh,
Ooh.
nice.
let's go
Beautiful.
Bitcoin.
Nice. What a moment.
But yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. Like, I think we have a great formula. This also allows us to kind of punch way above our weight in terms of like we have a really lean team, and let's call it a group of three people can produce the quantity and quality of work that maybe a team of like 15 people are doing if they're just doing everything in-house. So I think it is more scalable, and I mean the Bitcoin community enables it, right? Because not every community has an army of plebs on Twitter just like producing content nonstop. Like it's a lot harder to find talent. It's a lot harder to find intelligent voices. But with Bitcoin, it's so easy.
Yeah, I guess that's the beauty of like the economic incentive and the Bitcoin incentive. Just it rewards you for contributing to it, and it's sort of a feedback loop, right? And yeah, I guess it's crazy how that works. Where basically anyone who does want to contribute to the space, they're essentially like pushing their own investment, I guess you could say, even though it's not like advice, but yeah, it totally impacts the network, and therefore your own investment in the space. So yeah. So also I wanted to talk a little bit about what you're doing outside of Bitcoin Magazine. I'm not sure what you're doing outside of Bitcoin Magazine. Do you have any personal projects within Bitcoin right now?
So I do a show called POV Crypto with David Hoffman at Trustless State, who's a pretty prominent ETH head. So I've actually been doing that before I started even leading things up at Bitcoin Magazine, and that's actually how I kind of like started making a name for myself, and eventually was in position to like know how to do media. I started at Bitcoin Magazine in the podcast space, and then kind of expanded my role to taking over all of the magazine kind of vision and leadership. But yeah, it all started with POV Crypto, and then on the flip side, David Hoffman, when we started POV Crypto, he had like 200 followers. Now he has like 25,000 followers, and is a co-founder of a pretty mainstream Ethereum newsletter called Bankless. David and I disagree. That's pretty much the whole point of POV Crypto is we get on, let's call it every other week, and talk about the news, talk about specific topics, and kind of just debate. So there's a POV Crypto coming out today, and we debate proof of work, proof of stake. Does Bitcoin have a long-term security problem? Those kind of interesting topics. So it's awesome to hear how many like influential Bitcoiners listen to the show. Unfortunately, Bitcoiners don't tend to share like Ethereum related content. So it's more of a stealth podcast out there, but I'm always flattered to hear like some bigwig who's like, wow, you listen to POV Crypto? Awesome. So yeah, that's my other project. But to be honest, man, between Bitcoin Magazine, that right there is more than a full-time job, and then POV Crypto every other week, plus my own Bitcoin interests, like I'm just trying to carve out time to hang out with the people in IRL at this point, outside of just Bitcoin.
Yeah, with the conference coming up, it's getting busy. Yeah, I think that's really refreshing that you do that podcast, though. That's really what I was thinking of when I asked that question, because I always found it like, I guess you would say controversial, like when people are talking about Ethereum, they don't, like you said, they don't get shared, and it's really not talked about. So I think it's interesting that you kind of like head on face those debates, and yeah, I think that's a really cool project that you do.
I mean, my general thesis is, even a lot of Bitcoiners still feel like the best solution for things that you don't like is censorship or silencing. And I just fundamentally disagree with that. I think that the best way to change people's ideas, to move things forward, is the battle of ideas, and through more speech and more conversation. So I think that's kind of the impetus of POV Crypto. And to be honest, like both David and I think we have an edge because I understand what's happening in Ethereum better, and he understands what's happening in Bitcoin better than just the average person who's in the just staunchly in one camp or the other.
Yeah, And I find it interesting that even with the debate and all that, you still are a Bitcoiner, and you're not. Are you not swayed in the Ethereum direction at all when you talk about that stuff?
Well, I mean, I think that the reason David is a Ethereum maximalist, let's say, and I am a Bitcoin maximalist, is because of our fundamental worldviews, and that takes a lot to change.
Yes.
In terms of like how to make money in this space, like have definitely learned a lot. So you can take you can make of it how whatever you will, but I would say that's my take on that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm pretty curious. Stepping back a bit, what like originally got you, like how were you first introduced to Bitcoin, and how did you fall down the rabbit hole, and how did you start? Did you have altcoins at first? Like what's the story behind that?
Okay, so my story goes late summer, early fall 2017, like deep into the 2017 bull run. A former coworker of mine, a lady who I was actually giving personal finance advice to, like how to manage your credit card, how to like pay off your debt, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. She was like, "Yo, Bitcoin, like you should look it up." And up until that point, like I'd heard of Bitcoin. Like I think I've heard of Bitcoin 2011, heard of Bitcoin 2013, heard of Bitcoin 2015. It's just like, oh, here's this thing called Bitcoin. Okay, I'm never looking it up. I don't give a shit, right? That was kind of like, what Bitcoin was to me up until that point. And then that was the first time I was like, okay, like let me like look up Bitcoin, right? So did some Google searches, started looking stuff up. At that point, I discovered that podcasts and audio is like my ideal learning medium. So looked up Bitcoin podcast, blockchain podcast, found the Laura Shin's podcast called Unchained, downloaded every single episode, binged the entire, her entire catalog up until that point. And, kind of within that, like, let's just call it 2 weeks of doing that, I was completely convinced, like, download a Coinbase account, like this is the future of money. I bought $500 of Bitcoin, $200 of Ethereum, $80 of Litecoin. So that was my first Bitcoin investment, was in those, whatever was on Coinbase. And then from there, I'm kind, I was in Silicon Valley. I was working in startups, doing sales, and like I already knew what shitty startups looked like, right? So I'm looking at all the ICO craziness, and I'm like, I don't get it. These are just shitty startups. Like these are worse than shitty startups. These are scammy startups. Like these are startups with like no product at all. Not just like a startup that has no chance, but like they're just startups. So I started kind of like researching like what's wrong with blockchain, and like what's wrong with ICOs, and quickly found the Bitcoin maximalists. So it took me about, I would say, 45 days to go from like zero to Bitcoin's the only thing that makes sense, skeptical of everything else, and only accumulating Bitcoin. So I kind of found the Bitcoin way pretty quickly. I also found my way into the Bitcoin industry pretty quickly. So quit my job 2 weeks before Christmas break, or I guess Christmas. You don't get Christmas break when you're working, but quit my job 2 weeks before Christmas. And then with no plan other than, I got $10,000, I got some Bitcoin, and, I'm going to write a blog or something. But the North American Bitcoin Conference was happening at the end of January that year, 2018. Super, super scammy Bitcoin conference. There's a banana coin poster at that conference. But also at that conference was the Bitcoin Magazine team. So, and the Bitcoin, the BTC Inc. team. So I got to meet them. This person's no longer at the company, but Bryce shook his hand, said, "Hey, my name's Christian. San Francisco sales, software, Bitcoin." And he was like, "Here's my card. Give me a call." And then by February, I was hired onto the sales team, and I was selling conferences. So that's kind of like, that's how I dove headfirst into the Bitcoin space, and, been at BTC Inc. ever since. Started POV Crypto, moved from events to now Bitcoin Magazine, and now I'm doing things at Bitcoin Magazine. So it's been a crazy, let's call it 3.5 years, but it's also been a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's that's really interesting. I like how you could the word Bitcoin could be mentioned to you at anyone at any time, but it requires yourself to do your own research and to form your own opinions to actually get interested and invested in it. It's just you can't force someone to like Bitcoin. They have to already have the mindset to enjoy it themselves, and I think that's pretty interesting.
But you can convince someone to buy a small amount of Bitcoin, and that's kind of a forcing function. So never forget
And then
that.
just even the smallest amount is better than nothing.
Right. And like
That's been.
no, go ahead.
Sorry, Casey, go.
I was just gonna say, and I bet like in that 45 days that you went from, non-Bitcoin maximalist to maximalist, there was a lot of research in there. A lot of your own research.
Absolutely. At that point, like, I had pretty much stopped working at my job. Like, I was on, I didn't quit, but like, let's say I had 2 monitors. One monitor was Bitcoin shit at all times.
Yep. It seems to do that to people. It seems to absorb their attention and absorb their productivity. And you're not being unproductive when you're doing it. You're just not being productive for your previous job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you this. I have never been a more productive human than I am right now, and I think it's because I'm working in a subject matter that gets me excited every day.
Yeah, me too, man. It's funny that you mentioned like how fast you got onto the Bitcoin Magazine team, because I was gonna say you guys move fast. I went from like freelance writing for you to the internship in like a month. So it's just I think it's like part of the space, right? Part of the Bitcoin space.
Yeah.
Just moving fast and things change really quickly.
That's just me, man. So
I
don't think that I don't think Bitcoin Magazine before me would have operated this way, but my take is that Twitter and kind of the other avenues for people to contribute to Bitcoin Magazine is the ultimate way to like kind of interview people. So it was pretty obvious with Casey, like, dude, you're just hyped to write about Bitcoin and you're contributing stuff, and our editors thought that your writing was high quality, so it's just a no-brainer. You had the time, you're excited about it.
Yeah.
You just gotta take those opportunities to bring that kind of energy on board.
Right, the stars aligned. The stars definitely aligned for us to be working together, and we're super excited about it.
Yeah, so I guess, Jack, I don't know what you do in the space, but Casey, do you want to tell the listeners about your internship and kind of what your expectations are with being on the Bitcoin Magazine team?
Yeah, so just recently I joined an internship at the magazine. I'm starting on Monday officially. Prior to this, I was doing a little bit of freelance like news work and free op-ed contributions, which I will continue to do because I love writing op-eds. But regardless, the internship, super excited. Basically, as far as the general term would be an internship on the content team, I think, and mostly writing and news oriented from what I can tell. I'm hoping that we can get my face on the podcast a little bit more and get on the happy hour. I'm also going to be working at the conference in June, which will be super exciting. Cannot wait for that. And I hope everyone has their tickets already. But yeah, basically I'm going to be working on the content team, be doing all sorts of things, I think as Christian told me, a lot of people are wearing a lot of hats right now, and I am prepared to wear many a hat. So I think wherever they find a fit for me, writing is my niche right now, and I think they need need some help writing. So I am super excited to contribute to that and really excited to help out. So go ahead, Jack.
Oh, I was just gonna say nice. Just pretty stoked for you to be doing what you like to do, and it happened very fast. So I'm just pretty stoked.
Yeah, and like Christian said, to be able to contribute to something that you're like excited about, and to like work on something that you yourself are invested in and all that, it's extremely rewarding. It doesn't feel necessarily like work, even though it does get very busy, but I'm sure it will pay off in the end, and I'm super excited just to actually be doing something that I think is like a worthwhile contribution to something that's bigger than me.
Right.
You know, and so I think, yeah, just what it represents is just as big as what it is itself. So yeah.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
So if Bitcoin is the most important innovation in the world right now, and Bitcoin Magazine has a path to becoming the most important news periodical in Bitcoin, does that make Bitcoin Magazine have a chance at becoming the most important news periodical in the world?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's literally how I see it. Like, it's funny, but at the same time, like, I totally see it that way. I mean, if not one of the largest news outlets in general, just one of the largest future financial outlets, because Bitcoin is going to be finance in the future. And so, yeah, I think it absolutely has the potential to be a humongous publication, much larger than any one of us. And that's why I'm super excited to be on it, because as much as I am bullish on the magazine, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin is going up, then the magazine is going to go with it. And I truly believe that Bitcoin is going up.
True David and Goliath story right there.
Yep.
Yeah. When you joined Bitcoin Magazine, was it quite a bit smaller than it is? Because it feels relatively large to me now.
So it's kind of tough to say. The magazine's gone through a lot of different leadership changes and a lot of roller coasters. When I actually, I've been on the team since 2018, but I didn't fully like take over bitcoinmagazine.com until, what was it, September 2020. So by that point, I think September 2020, when I took over mid-September, we had published 6 articles. So just to give you an idea of like what 6 articles is, halfway through the month, like we're publishing like 9 articles today by itself,
Yes.
right? So like that was like the worst. That was a really bad spot to be in. That was so.
So it sounds like it's come at least a decent way.
And at that point, there's only let's call it 3 full-time people plus Joe Rogers part-time. So very, very understaffed. So we have expanded a lot. We have grown a lot. We've built really good processes, and of course, scaled up the content production a lot, right? So 4 podcasts a week, upwards of 40 to 50 articles a week, and growing. Like, we're not done.
Right, and it'll just continue to grow as long as Bitcoin does, and I think we expect Bitcoin to grow for quite a long time. Yeah, and so I think it's just crazy how such a small project can evolve into like a real community driver, right? Like, I wouldn't have such a large platform without you guys. So many other writers for you would not have the platform they have without you guys. And it's crazy how it sort of like just gathers mass and momentum and can be carried by, I mean, obviously the greatest network in the world, which is Bitcoin. So, last question I really wanted to talk about is what your outlook is on the rest of 2021. Just, it could be in terms of Bitcoin, could be in terms of life. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you what you're looking forward to in the coming year.
Well, I'm interested to hear what you guys think on the same question, but I'll just start off with my take. In general, I am bullish. I think that more people are learning about Bitcoin. More people are waking up to the need for sovereignty and self-reliance, and that's super bullish. I'm hopeful that the norms that started in 2020 around compliance and mask wearing and stuff like that start to kind of ease off and fade away quickly as possible. So, we'll see what happens. But I'm hopeful. I read a stat today that people from the age of 25 to 52 in mass have stopped watching CNN since Trump stopped being president. So that's bullish. I think it was like that age group dropped by 42% for CNN. So a lot less people watching CNN, hopefully Fox News as well, and people being bored or apathetic to politics. I think that's bullish. So, let's just forget about the politicians, move on with our lives, learn about Bitcoin if you can and want to get rich. And that's my 2021 outlook. I mean, if it's 2022 and we're talking about travel restrictions still, I will be really, really sad.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But in general, numbers going to go up a lot, so that's good for us.
Yeah. Jack, do you want to give your outlook on 2021 real quick? I enjoyed that outlook, Christian.
Yeah, it was great. I think summarize in one word is definitely yes, bullish. But yeah, pretty much, I don't give price predictions or nothing, but I definitely expect the price of Bitcoin to be different from what it is today. But my plan is just to keep working and, stacking sats just like how I've always been doing. So I'm really excited just to see how it unfolds. And yes, I do think that we're in such an early phase to where it's just gonna domino effect. Like just comparing it to just the internet in general, it was such a small group of people using it in the beginning, but it just multiplied itself by every year and more and more users every single year. So I'm really excited to see how it unfolds and just live my life the way I want to live it. So yeah, very excited.
Yeah, dude, I agree with that. I think that's the right outlook to have. Just stack sats, continue to live life the way you want to. As far as my outlook on 2021, I am bullish as well. I think the number is going to go up, and beyond that, it's hard to predict what's going to go on in the next year. Last year, I hadn't written once about Bitcoin, and now I'm doing the internship at the magazine, so everything can explode and change in just 1 year. So
right.
I'm optimistic and positive and super excited for what I'm going to be doing with the magazine, that's for sure. And I think that's going to be like an amazing opportunity coming up. And just Bitcoin in general has been a fantastic opportunity for me in more ways than just that. And I think it's just going to continue to be that way. I just think it's going to continue to positively affect my life. And I'm sure everyone whose life they want to bring it into, So yeah, just a positive outlook, bullish outlook on 2021 from all three of us.
Surprising.
So I don't mean to take over, and I know that we're supposed to wrap up here, but
no, go ahead.
Notice that all three of us have whether which phase we're in kind of this process have been like, wow, Bitcoin, let's not only invest, but let's get involved. Mm-hmm. Would love to hear from you guys about your experience, getting involved and interacting with the Bitcoin community, because I think it's truly one of a kind in terms of a community to interact with and be a part of. And let's just say I'm a fully developed Bitcoiner at this point. Interacted and built a reputation, built a career, all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't that long ago where I was pretty much in your guys' shoes.
Yeah, Jack, do you want to start, because you've been in the community longer than me, even though
it's definitely quite interesting. I remember me and Casey were in middle school, and we're just hanging out at a Circle K, and I remember him telling me, hey, did you hear about this guy that lost his hard drive and lost a ton of Bitcoin? And I was like, what the fuck is Bitcoin? and then fast forward a couple years, I kind of dove into it, and then I got pretty involved, mining and all that bullshit. But and then slowly, me and Casey started running together, and we would just talk afterwards. And I slowly crept him into the old rabbit hole.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, I I'm definitely excited. I definitely should be more involved with the actual community. I'll be at the Bitcoin conference, so hopefully, I'll be able to network with some people and give some more opinions. But as of right now, I'm kind of just working. I work at a ski resort, so I love to snowboard. I It's one of my passions. So I'm lucky to have a job where I get to snowboard every day and just really enjoy my life and also get paid for it, so I could buy more Bitcoin. But yeah,
Let's go. Hey, man. Whether it's
yeah,
working on Bitcoin or snowboarding every day, you gotta do what you love.
Right.
yeah. I love snowboarding, so that's just kind of how my life has unfolded. Um, but yeah, I could definitely see myself being involved in the Bitcoin space a little bit more. I haven't been as aggressive just because my job it takes up some of my time, and I'm pretty tired afterwards. But in the summertime there's no snowboarding, so I'm definitely excited for the Bitcoin conference. I'm definitely excited to just be more involved in general.
Yeah, and this is the first summer with Satoshi Chats. Satoshi Chats is really like our first foray into the Bitcoin community, and even though it's really small, it's still like the first content we got to touch. But yeah, as far as like the Bitcoin community, I think it's been great. Like, I don't think I mean, it's a tough community if you're not on board with Bitcoin and Bitcoin maximalism. It can be really ruthless as far as your opinion and when you put that out there and what they do to it. So when I first started, I was definitely kind of like, I guess you would say, careful about what I put out there as far as my thoughts, because I knew the biggest thing is I knew I wasn't educated, and I didn't want to put out thoughts that weren't like formulated fully yet. So that was kind of my first thing, is I wanted to learn and like read more about Bitcoin before I started talking about Bitcoin, which I highly recommend to everyone trying to talk about Bitcoin. If you haven't learned about it, I recommend that. But once I started like reading about it and thinking that I could at least understand like the basics of it, interacting with the Bitcoin community just makes you more bullish on Bitcoin itself. And that's because of the people who make up the network. They're just so voraciously defendant of it, and they just create beautiful arguments for it. They generate content that just can't be matched in terms of like the bullish signal, and it just I think the community, like you said, it's one of a kind. Something about economically incentivizing you to contribute to a social community, I think generates like a sort of a certain type of content or a certain type of interaction that has not yet been really realized fully, I don't think. And I think it's only going to get more kind of crazy, or I guess that's not a good word, but more excited as a whole as the price goes up and as more people adopt it. So I think it's a crazy and very fun community. I think it's fast moving and dynamic and just super interesting to have dived into, and glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, so bullish. Jack, you gonna say something?
Oh no, that was just my mic going. But yeah, I totally agree. It's very fast moving, and yeah, the first thing you said, Casey, just reminded me of that quote from Satoshi. Is just if you don't believe me or don't get it, I don't have the time to try to convince you. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, it's not even a mean thing. It's just very busy, and like you said a while ago, doing your own research is really, once you acquire a little bit, after acquiring that little bit, doing the research is really key to developing a sort of like belief in what you've invested in and all that. But I think everyone has their own Bitcoin journey, right?
Yep. So actually, I have a couple things to kind of add. So first, Jack, that quote, the Satoshi quote that you mentioned, I think what's even better about that is if you know the context, right?
I'm
So
actually not aware of that. Yeah, what's
yeah,
the
Satoshi told that to Dan Larimer. So I don't know if you know who Dan Larimer is, but Dan Larimer is the founder of BitShares. Maybe he was involved in Mastercoin. He later did the EOS ICO. So he's a serial scammer. So if you know that that's the context, maybe
Oh,
sometimes I
that's
think
very
Bitcoiners
interesting.
can be a little bit more empathetic to newbies, but that quote specifically was intended for then a young early Dan Larimer before he did a bunch of let's call them crypto scams and affinity
Oh,
scams.
wow. I did not know that.
Yep. So, yeah, Bitcoiners are definitely toxic to scammers for sure, and have a great kind of like scammer dar or whatever, or some radar for scammers.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Casey, you kind of said Bitcoiners are tough. There's a quote that I love. It's like iron sharpens iron. Well, I followed that up on a podcast and I said that, well, hey, if iron sharpens iron, if you want to get real fucking sharp, you should go hang out with some Bitcoiners because Bitcoiners are both sharp, but they're freaking tough as hell. And if you're a scammer, if you don't know what you're talking about, if you don't have good intentions, like they're gonna kick the shit out of you, like virtually. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like you're not gonna have a great time, man. Like you need to be humble. You need to have an open mind. You need to learn and you need to do your own research and have a authentic, good opinion in a well thought out opinion.
Yeah, definitely necessary to have a well thought out opinion because they will find out where you did not think and they will attack it.
Well, hey, with that being said, like what's more toxic is being fake, right?
Right.
What's more toxic is not doing research and propagating falsities, right? So,
Right.
I'm all about it. And you guys both mentioned the conference. Like, let's chill Bitcoin 2021 before I have to hop off here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Casey and I are going to be working it. It's still going to be a blast for us. But Jack, I know both of you guys bought your tickets before Casey even got involved with the company. Let's talk about what are you hyped for?
Honestly, I'm not too sure what to expect. I'm really excited to just have open ears and just kind of listen and just it's going to be a very interesting experience to actually talk to other Bitcoiners IRL. Like it's before before you joined the podcast, it was really like Casey is really just the only person I talk to about Bitcoin in real life or on the phone. Like, I'm just really excited to just be surrounded by people with similar mindsets and just be able to meet new people with the same mindset as me. And I'm not too sure what to expect, but I know it's going to be a positive outcome in the end. So
Yeah, like like I said, being around other Bitcoiners with the mindset, and like the mindset extends so far beyond Bitcoin that just being around like people who have that low time preference and just the Bitcoin mindset is crazy, and it's going to be so fun to be surrounded by other people who carry the same mindset. So yeah, just super bullish on conference 2021. I think if you have not gotten your tickets yet, I think it's like 350 right now. It's only going to go up from there, so you better get it. And
yep.
And it's going to be absolutely hype. I saw that we're going to have the senator there. I mean, how bullish is
the
that?
Wyoming?
Yeah, how bullish is that to have a Wyoming senator at
Oh, no way,
conference?
She's coming?
She's speaking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude, hey,
awesome.
So Jack, you got to go to the website. The speaker list is absolutely epic. Michael Saylor, Jack Dorsey, Chamath.
So it's been updated.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
New ones all the time.
Michael, I'm gonna see Michael Saylor in person. That's well worth. That's well worth it.
The Giga Chad himself.
But here, I'll drop some conference alpha on the podcast. But Cynthia Lummis, we have obviously the prince himself. Francis Suarez, the man who's making this all possible, as well as just changing the world by making Miami like a competitive city. and
Yes.
challenging New York and in San Francisco with freedom, right? So he's the fucking man. I have to give him a huge shout out. But yeah, him and Cynthia Lummis coming to the conference, and there are other big name politicians who have stood up for Bitcoin and are Bitcoiners, and I'm pretty sure that we are in touch with every single one of them. So there's a lot more of announcements to come. So get your tickets. Go to b.tc/conference. Use our Bitcoin magazine code Satoshi. That saves you 10% off too. So promo code Satoshi, spelled Satoshi. I think you can figure it out.
Yes, dude, so bullish, so much alpha. It's just everywhere, dude. So yeah, dude, I think working with the Miami mayor's office, super awesome, and yeah, it just makes everything so much better, and it really paves a bright future for Bitcoin. So yeah, we really appreciate having you on, Christian. It was absolutely fantastic, and you were super overqualified to be our first guest. So.
Yep. Thank you so much for coming on. It was really awesome.
Bitcoiners will do that, man. They'll just come on any podcast, and they love supporting young Bitcoiners trying to make a podcast. So keep it going. Love to see it. And Jack, great to meet you. Casey,
Yeah, good to meet you.
Gear up for next week, man. It's going to be a hell of a week.
Yes, we will be working hard, ready to hit the ground running.
Peace.
All right, man.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks.
Later.